Hello people, this is Evan with Fix the Things, and on today's episode we're going to be taking a somewhat inexpensive guitar that needs some work and fixing it up. So stick around. Right off the bat you can tell that this thing has a lot of rust. So the strings are rusty, no big deal, we'll change those obviously, but you can see the frets there. They are all crusty and nasty, and I've got a bunch of DNA on them. So we're gonna clean those up. Just clean all the dust off. All the tuners look to be in good working condition. What else we got? This bridge piece has a lot of rust on it, and I don't think we can clean this up, so I'm gonna replace that. And the interesting thing about this guy is that it's a top load telly, so it doesn't have the strings that go through the body to the other end, so that's a little different. And being that this is a Japanese guitar, the spacing and thing is going to be a little different. So I'll have to find a good replacement for that to get rid of that. Not sure if these pickups are good or not. I'll have to test those. He probably wants new ones, and probably a new control plate. Probably all new electronics as well, because this thing just looks a little cheap. What else we got? It's missing the nut on there. Back is fine, neck's cool. So, just typical stuff. We're gonna replace some parts. Before ordering something random, I made sure and measured the tailpiece on the existing guitar because it's kind of a weird spacing for various things. Make sure I can find something that'll fit. So this is a tailpiece I found that should work just great. It's from a website called Guitar Fetish, and I went ahead and just ordered the rest of the stuff from there as well. So we got this tailpiece that can be top loaded or through body, which works for me, and it has all the specs that should fit this guitar just fine. Got this wiring kit. It's cheaper to buy it as a kit instead of the components. The switch in there is kind of cheap. Pots look a little cheap, so this should be a little upgrade for him and without spending a lot of money. Got a new plate for him. Get rid of that rust. All this is chrome. It's a new switch tip and new knobs because the old ones the chrome was flaking off. So I just ordered this and we'll wait for that to get in the mail. All right, the package has arrived. So let's take a look and see what we got. We got 2 chrome knobs, very nice. A top hat switch tip, sweet. We have a new control plate, chrome, and it's got screws with it, awesome. And our tailpiece, or bridge, cool, it's got the top load, awesome. And then we have our wiring kit. Since I saw you guys last, I've gone ahead and polished up the frets on this guy. If you remember, they looked pretty terrible. So we still got some wear marks that I didn't get out, but frets are all polished up, and I did a video on that you can check out up there at the top of your screen. Let's go ahead and pull off some of this old hardware so we can take a look at what the new stuff looks like. Old and nasty, new and shiny. I'm really curious to see if these pickups even measure anything. So let's go 20K. Oh, that doesn't seem right. What is going on here? I was gonna measure these existing pickups to see if they measure anything, but the meter has given up the ghost, which is all well and fine. Needed a new one anyway. So yeah, I'll just pull those out. I probably wasn't gonna use those anyway. Normally I would just desolder the pickups from the rest of the electronics, but I'm going to be replacing all of this anyway, so just gonna save myself the time and clip them off. So this is pretty weird. I just pulled, this is the jack. I had to, it wasn't moving or anything, so I had to use a hammer from the outside of the guitar and hammer it back through. And it looks like the nut was on the inside, which is bizarre. And then also, I think this is glue. So I think someone ran into problems getting this thing to stay and they just decided to glue it in there. Bizarre. It looks like everything fits all nicely. So this is the new one, and the holes line up nicely on the bridge as well as this control plate. So that's good news. Now I think we just need to clean the guitar and install everything. This guitar is particularly nasty to clean, so it's got a bunch of crud on it. If your guitar is super nice and pristine and shiny, I wouldn't recommend doing any of this kind of stuff, but since this one's pretty beat up, I'm gonna try. I've got a couple things here. I've got alcohol swabs, naphtha. Tends to be pretty guitar friendly, but to get most of this crud off, and I tested a little piece to see if I was gonna do any damage to the finish before really diving in here. Do that definitely if you're doing this on your guitar, because you don't want to use really rough chemicals on something if you're not sure what it's going to do to the finish. But this guitar I'm not too concerned about. I think anything I do is going to help this guitar. And you could use like a guitar polish to do all this. This one's so nasty that I felt like I might need something a little more aggressive. This thing is looking a little bit better after using the alcohol. Now that I've used the alcohol and gotten most of the crud off, I'm going to use this nice cloth and some guitar cleaner slash polish and see if that does anything. So that cleaner polish worked all right. Made overall the guitar look a little shinier and stuff. It's still got this weird finish issue kind of right there. I'm not sure what that's all about. You know what? It actually kind of looks like a sticker maybe was on there at some point. I'll need some actual polish or compound to probably get that out, or a buffing wheel. And I don't know if I'm going to mess with that. This is a lot better, so I'll probably just leave it in that condition. We'll see. I'm going to start by putting some of these electronics on the new control plate. So start with the switch. Got some machine screws that came in the kit. So this may end up being a little bit of a problem. See how far these shafts stick out of this plate, and this is the knob that I ordered from them. And I thought that I was getting the press fit knobs, but you can see how this one is designed to work on a solid shaft with that Allen there that tightens down on a shaft. I think this will still work. See how far this sticks up. I'll have to put some washers on this side of the pot to get that to go down a little bit. I think it'll look nicer. I don't think I have any lock washers. Oh, I'll just use the old ones. Let's try that. So I just pulled this off again, and here are the old lock washers that were on the existing pots, and here are the nuts. So I think if I thread this on there, luckily it's the same thread size. So if I put that all the way on there, and then, you know what, let's go ahead and tighten that down a little bit. Cool. And then if I use this lock washer that hopefully will give me the right height, let's see. So that's better. Let's see where we're at when I thread the rest of this on there. All right, moment of truth. Let's see what kind of height that gives me. Oh yeah. So that gives me a little bit of room to play with. I'll bring it up about right there, tighten it down, and that should look all nice. Go ahead and do that on the other one. So even though these knobs were made for a solid shaft instead of a split shaft like this, I think they're going to work out just fine. got them both facing the right direction. I like to put them, like if you've got the Allen key knobs, I like to put them so that like while you're playing guitar, you don't see them too much. So this is all the way off, rolled back, and that's all the way on. And so you'll still see it a little bit, but for the majority of players where they put them, you won't see that. No big deal, but I like to have them even. Knobs aren't rubbing the top of the plate there. They feel nice and smooth, so that's cool. It's gonna be great. Okay, now I'm gonna fish the jack through the hole here. So I got the jack in there and the nut threaded on. Sometimes if you don't get the jack positioned right, then it doesn't leave the contacts enough room to move when you put the cable in. So I'm just gonna test that now. So it looks like the cable goes in nicely. Has good retention, it's not wobbling around. There's plenty of room in there. Cool. So for pickups, I'm just gonna use these that I've had lying around in my stash for a while. They came out of a guitar of mine and I know they work, so I'm gonna try that first. Told him I would sell him these pickups for super cheap if he likes them. And if he doesn't, we'll put something else in later. So here's something mildly interesting. Tellies are usually, the bridge is ground through this back plate. You can see how I've got a wire that's soldered to the back of this plate, and in theory the screw that goes, that mounts these touches that, and then you get all your string and bridge ground. The better way to do that is to run a separate ground, and the kit that I got has this extra ground with it. So I'm just going to run this through and try to hit these mounting holes for the bridge. Yeah, so I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but I'm going to come all the way over here, strip back this wire, put the end of it through the hole where the screw is going to mount the bridge, and that will make double sure that I have a ground on this thing. I think those screws I just put in will work, but they're a little bit smaller than the ones that were existing on this guitar. So I'm gonna swap them out. I'll show you what I mean. So this is the one, the screw that came with the bridge, and then this is what was on there. So you can see the diameters are a little different. So I'm gonna use the original ones. I think they'll fit better. And I used a little bit of metal polish to try to clean those up a little bit since everything else looks nice. But so I'm gonna put those back in. The other ones were starting to strip a little bit, and I think these will hold better. All right, soldering. Now this isn't going to be a tutorial on soldering. There are plenty of things online you can check out for that. And honestly, that's probably how I learned a lot of my soldering, is just by checking out YouTube videos. But what I've got here, I've got the neck pickup and bridge pickup. And there's not going to be a lot of soldering thanks to this wiring kit. But I'm going to put both of these black wires to ground. And then these should be the hots, I think. I'll have to wait and see after I've plugged it in. It might be out of phase that way, but that's how I'm going to start off doing it. And you know, since I have the length on the wires, I think I'm going to solder both of the grounds to this pot instead of that one. I don't really want to heat this one up any more than I have to with this wire going across. So let's do that. And to be able to solder onto the back of a pot, you need a lot of heat. And so a little dinky soldering iron may not get the job done. You might need something a little more serious where you can turn up the heat. So I'm starting by putting a little bit of solder on the back of this pot. And that should be good there. I like to put the solder not on the stamped in letters. That way you can tell later on, or the next guy can tell what the value of the pot is and stuff like that. So that's what I do there. And I'm gonna put some fresh solder on the ends of these so that we can make some, hopefully a better connection. Exciting stuff. Okay, so now I'm ready to go. I'm going to start probably with the hots. So this is my neck, and if I remember right, so yeah, so this is going to be my hot for my neck, and that's going to be my hot for my bridge, I think. So it's nice for this to come pre-tinned there, so I think let's just heat this up. And get that in there. It's kind of hard to do. I'm in an awkward position with this camera. Let's see how that is. Doesn't look awesome, but I don't, you know, I'm gonna cut this because that wire looks a little frayed at the end. I'm just gonna snip the ends of these off. Okay, let's try this again. I cut the ends off, put some fresh solder on the end of the pickup wires. There we go. Yeah, that feels a lot better. Let me show you what's going on here. So that is in there now. Looks pretty good. Tugged on it. Doesn't seem like it's moving anywhere, so that one's good to go. Here we go with the bridge. The bridge is going to be wired to that guy. Working around the camera is always super fun. And if you're soldering, just be careful. If you're using lead solder, you don't want to breathe the fumes in. Let me take a look at that. Okay, hopefully this is a slightly better angle. So now I need to attach both of these to ground. And it can be tricky putting them on the same pool of solder. If you do them both at the same time, that's cool, but that's just kind of tricky. So what I'll do is probably put one on one side, one on the other. That way I can do them both individually. So let's see if I can manage to do this on camera and have it work. So like I said, you gotta get the back of the pot pretty hot for this to work. This tripod's fun to work around. So I'm getting the pool hot. There we go. Solder is still nice and shiny, so that should work all right. So getting the pool hot, but just the one side so I don't desolder the first one. Okay. That looks pretty good. Solder's still shiny. Tugging on them, they're not going anywhere. And so they're ground to that pot. This pot is ground to that pot. And it should be good. All right, now let's test and see if these pickups are working. You don't need the strings on there to at least test and see if you've got it wired up correctly. I'll probably have to wait and put strings on it before I can tell if it's out of phase or not. But so I've got the guitar plugged in right here. It's going off to an amp over there. And let's test it. So we'll put it in the neck position. Pots are on full. So in this position, I should only be getting sound out of right here, the neck pickup. Oh, interesting, you can hear that. So what you can do is grab a screwdriver, and you should hear noise when you touch it to the pickup. So you can hear that. That's working. Let's test the volume function. So I'm gonna move the volume knob down. Okay, that's working, great. Let's test the tone now. You should hear the noise just kind of darken. Okay, cool, that sounds good. Now we should not be getting anything out of the bridge pickup. So let's see. Yep, nothing there. And something there. All right, now let's do the same thing, but moving over to the bridge. Cool, we're getting signal there. Let's see if, yep, nothing out of the neck. Perfect. Let's check the volume. That works. Let's check the tone. All right, that works. Now let's check the middle position. So now in the middle position, we should be getting both pickups. So neck, yep, bridge, yep. Same deal, volume. Cool, that works. Tone. Awesome. So everything should be working. I just strung up this guitar with some 11s, and if you want to see how I did that, I've got a video on how to restring guitars up here. Go ahead and check that out. But so we put some 11s on it. I've checked the wiring, plugged it in, and I thought that it was out of phase in the middle. The volume was close, but I thought it might be out of phase, so I swapped the neck with the hot and ground, and then it was definitely out of phase. So I had it right the first time, so I put it back. Put that back on there. I just threw the pickguard on for kicks and giggles. Set the action, just playable right now. Tweak the truss rod a little bit. But let's take a look and see how it sounds. So I've got it plugged in here to a little champ. See how it sounds. This is the neck position. Bridge. Middle. Today is now tomorrow, and I think it's time to finish up the setup on this guy so I can get it back to the owner. And so today we're going to do setup, and I need to tweak the truss rod a little bit. I think that's still slightly backbowed. I know that the nut needs to be raised, and then I need to set the final action intonation, and that should be good. So I'll start with the truss rod. Again, this isn't a tutorial on setup, so I'll probably do one of those at some point in the future. But just a ride along, I guess, if I'm doing this. I got this to protect the pickup. I probably should just take the neck off, but I'm being a little lazy today. I got the neck where I want it, and that last tweak seemed to work, and now I need to focus on raising the nut. So here's how you can tell real quickly, if your nut is not the right height. It's gonna be hard to maybe pick up on camera, but you wanna press down on the second fret and look and see how much gap there is from the string to the fret at the first. And there should barely be any space. You can see, I think, how the string is moving just a little bit right there. And actually that one's moving just a little bit too. Sometimes it can help to hit it and hear it. Like, you probably can't hear it the way I've got this audio set up, but these are very close, but I think they're just a little bit too low. So time to pop the nut out and shim it up. I finished setting this telly up, and it plays nice. It sounds good. So let the owner know, and he's on his way over right now to pick it up. So I'm pretty pleased with how this guitar came out. It looks a whole lot better. Just cleaned it up, really, replaced some parts, some electronics. And I'm gonna tell the guy that a bone nut would be an upgrade for this guy, but other than that, it's all in good shape. So thanks for hanging out with me as we fix this guy up, and I'll see you in the future. Peace.